All right, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of SpellCast. I am your host, OSK, and with me, I have my good friend, Play Safe. Say hi to everyone, please. Or you're this way
Hello,
instead.
hello.
Hey, dude, what's up?
What
So,
up?
in this first little episode, I want to get into sort of what happened during this past week, of course, in terms of Spellbreak. What we've been hearing from the devs as far as communication. I know there's been a little bit of controversy going on with some things in the shop, as well as a few other things. But we do have some reassuring news from some of our devs. I also want to go over the patch with you, what the new meta looks like, what we've been seeing in some of these competitive tournaments, and also what's the future of Spellbreak. I want to theory craft just a little bit and see how far we can go as far as what our ideal Spellbreak would be. What sort of changes do they need to do to sort of get up to speed with what the community wants, what we would like to see, and then of course we'll send off at the end there. So, Plays, introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are and why they should listen to you, my friend.
I am a shoutcaster for Spellbreak. Been in the community for over a year now, I guess it's been. I started off just like playing and streaming on my own, and then I got into shoutcasting with Player 2 and then Element. And now, as you know, I'm just jumping around with you, doing all sorts of events. Haven't really been doing much like personal stuff, honestly, just been grinding out all sorts of these competitive tournaments. But that's really all there is to it for me.
That's awesome, dude. So you've been playing Spellbreak for a while. You obviously got a lot of knowledge from your casting. And funny enough, you're actually the one that got me into casting way back when. I remember the old Player 2 competitive events. Those were some fun times, man. It was so different back then. Like we had, oh my goodness, that was probably back in pre-alpha, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first one we did was in pre-alpha, and then before that, it was all just as you said on Player Lounge, that super old Discord. And it was
Yeah.
honestly, we had some scuffed events, if I'm being real. Like our format, we had I was doing this like slide changes and the scene changes while we were casting. It was just not ideal.
Yeah, I remember you being like the complete production. I actually forgot entirely about that. You literally ran the entire show. You did that for Element for the longest time too. I remember way back in the day in pre-alpha.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and we had like a completely different meta. I think it was pre-alpha. We had Frozen Alacrity was so freaking fast. We had Lightning Goes Burr memes. We still have Lightning Goes Burr memes, but we had like Wind Offhand just immediately did wind jumps and all that sort of stuff. It was a crazy meta back then. Absolutely crazy. So different from today. Now we actually have our production squad behind us in Element, and we finally get to do just the fun stuff. We actually get to be the faces of stuff. So,
dude, the biggest thing for me is the added graphics team, because before all of our stuff was like
oh yeah,
homebrew, just like so sketchy. But having people
yeah,
that can
yeah.
actually make like nice looking graphics and transitions has like for me when I watch the VODs of our stuff, that's the biggest thing that jumps out to me is like, oh, this looks like an actual production now.
Yeah, I remember back in the day too. Back in Players Lounge, we didn't have an observer or production manager, so we like had to rotate through each of the names in the spectator client, and we had to keep casting until both of us were on the same player, and we would
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we're bouncing around to like let each other know, hey, we need to like press the space bar and get over to the next guy." Oh my goodness! And if you
And then
miss,
you hit escape or something and you're
oh
just done for the
yes, yes.
game.
Oh my god, it was awful. But I'm so glad we're at a spot now. We don't even have to do that. So, all right. So I have to know. Okay, what got you into Spellbreak? What brought you into this wonderful game that apparently is dead but really isn't?
Honestly, so you sent me like a short list on what we're going to be talking about, and
Yeah,
I don't even remember what exactly got me into Spellbreak. I feel like I just saw some sort of advertisement off for it, like when they did like the sketchiest advertising on Reddit, and then
yeah,
I jumped into the game and like got a code, and I don't know, I just fell in love with playing solos. That was back when solos was it was only like 30 people playing, so you played the
yeah,
same 30 people every day, and I would just get shit on by like Leon every single day.
yeah.
But then it actually made
Yeah.
me start wanting to play the game, and then I started streaming and went from there pretty much. It wasn't like a super romance story for Spellbreak and me. I know some people have these like really crazy stories of how they got into it, but mine's pretty vanilla.
Yeah, and those for those of you that don't know, Leon is Kamsky nowadays.
Oh
Arguably,
yeah.
yeah, arguably the best player to ever touch the game. Probably up there with T-Foul and Megaverse and all those people. So just for those of you that don't know, but yeah, it was crazy, man. I remember going in my first game. I got in because a friend like sent me something. I was covering back in the day. I think I still have a few Elder Scrolls videos up on my OSK Gaming channel. If you scroll down far enough, it was like the earliest stuff that I ever covered, and it was super scuffed, and I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but here I am with podcasts. So,
Yeah, I know you grind RPGs like crazy. Whenever we're doing,
dude, I love
this
RPGs.
is a little
They're
secret.
so
This is
good.
a secret for anybody. But when we're doing casts, or at least it was back in the day, we would always be on a pre-production meeting, and OSK would just be like grinding RuneScape like 10
Hell
minutes
yeah, dude.
before we're about to go
I
live.
still grind RuneScape. I did that literally today, and nothing has changed. They have a new league out now, Leagues 2. It's so fun, man. You gotta give it a try. Like, they start you out with like 5 times the XP multiplier, and you basically have to go around completing tasks that ordinarily wouldn't give you anything, but you have like these extra powers that you can do called relics, and it's really cool. It changes up the entire game, and it's so fun.
The only RPG I got really into was World of Warcraft when I was younger. And it's funny, some of the people in chat, in this YouTube chat, like Garrett and Jacob and Hoser, those guys I played WoW like with back in the day. That was the first game that I really started grinding. But after that, I haven't really played much RPGs and any of that.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, yeah, dude, I don't know. I just really love RPGs. That's kind of what got me into Spellbreak, because whenever I play RPGs, I'm always a mage. And like, yeah, it's crazy. And I'm actually a mage right now on the Trailblazer League. And basically what I saw in Spellbreak was, oh, cool, I'm a mage, but wait, I can also move fast. So I'm like, let's go. And really, it's the movement that got me into Spellbreak. Like, I just really like the idea of punching a fireball, blinking over to my right, and then doing it again from a completely different angle. And if you're fast enough, they can't even keep up. Like, and I was one of the players back in the day that would like try to go into the practice tool and master just blinking and then immediately slapping someone with toxic. They got me so many exiles, man. You have no idea. It was so fun. It's unreactable too. It was great. But anyway,
There's so many builds back when you first started playing.
Yeah, it was so good. We had the dual class system. You could do Pyromancer and Toxicologist at the same time, give you an extra life. With Vital Stone was part of Pyromancer, and that was like one of the best early game classes ever. Oh, it was great. But enough about that. I want to get into what's happened this previous week. Obviously, there's been a bunch of controversy surrounding the shop. There's been a lot of talk about this next patch coming out. Did you have a chance to see Taco's feedback post about what he would do to change? Yeah, and you saw the reply from you saw the reply from Sloth and Jesse off of that?
Yeah, I read over the stuff. I mean, for Taco's feedback, I read that more in depth. The Jesse's comment, I just like skimmed that super quick before we went into an event, so I could like talk about it during one of the things. But I see you're pulling it up right now, so we can look at it. Yeah,
I'll try to pull it up for you here. And those of you watching, you'll be able to see it too. So let's get up here. Basically, the gist of it was like talking about does Tacos not have a matching name to his thing? I'll have to look that up. But anyway, we can talk about it while I'm looking it up. So basically what had happened was Tacos posted this long feedback piece, and then Jesse kind of tried to follow up with every little bit that he could as far as like what is coming out in the future to kind of ease the tension a little bit between all of these. So I can find it pretty quick, that would be ideal. But
I think like the gist of his comment though, like before you pull it up, I think like the things I really took away from it was him talking about recovery, Frostborn. Like he was just kind of indicating there's a ton of these changes coming up. You're about to pull it up for the rest of us here, but yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I was surprised that recovery was left the same, to be honest. Like I was pretty shocked when this first update came out, and then recovery was the same. Like I expected it to at least get touched in some way, but
yeah, I think we both were. So I have it pulled up on the actual screen for you guys now. So basically we were talking about the 1.2 update, and like his idea to make it better. Recovery is needed. Like a change to recovery is needed to allow more variety, and I 100% agree with that. Like we like during the element qualifiers today, we saw a little bit of escapist, a little bit of recklessness, but and a little bit of thirsty too. We can't leave that one out. But that's like more of a squad play kind of thing, except for maybe escapist. Really, you still want like your frontliners and all that to still have recovery. And if you're in solos, like if you don't pick recovery, you're just throwing. So, recovery definitely needs to be touched. And I don't think like maybe it's just me, but I'm personally not a big fan of just nerfing the cost like Fervor, they nerfed the cost to 3. Well, guess what? It's still as strong. You just can't build it into as many things. And Conduit still reigns supreme because you can still pick Spell Slinger or Focus Mana and Recovery. Like, the build didn't change at all. So, like, I feel like, yes, it's okay, but it would be better just to nerf the strength of it, I feel like, to make it match up with the cost that you're bringing in.
Yeah, I've always felt though, like when they implemented the 6 talent point system, like I thought it was I mean, it's a good idea and the concept is smart for balancing because it puts a limit on the classes. But I also always thought to myself, like, it's just such a difficult thing that is added to the balance for the team that has to deal with it from Proletariat. Like everything now is weighted against the points that you give into it, plus the value that's provided, plus, you know, if one of the talents is dominant, then you kind of have to run it. Like it locks players into certain builds, which I guess is the whole point of it. But I think, you know, when it comes to balancing the game, it can make it pretty difficult when you're just trying to change one of the talents, but it's not having the desired result.
Yeah, I really think that either they need to have like a set, you know how I know you play League of Legends. You played a normal before you hopped in here. You know who Freak is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how he has like this whole little spreadsheet of like value of like gold value per stat that you can get, and it's like based on this whole thing. And like he'll say, oh, 200 health is like worth this much amount in gold. So it's therefore this gold efficient that you can build into a one item versus another. Like, does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I haven't seen the spreadsheet, but I get the concept of that, like gold value.
Yeah, I feel like they need to do that with talents to some extent. Like I feel like there needs to be one talent that you can point out and saying, oh, one talent point is equal to 25% mana efficiency, like in dexterity, for example, or like this amount of health is worth 3 points. So like 50 health is worth 3 points of talent. Because I feel like you almost have to scale it off of the full talent based on the base value that you get. But then you get into some talents like runic fluency, where the immediate benefit of the talent is like the rune charge that you get, and what scales off of it with rune cooldown doesn't really factor in to the value of the actual rune. So maybe there's something there that they could look at to sort of get these values of talents versus the value of the benefit that they bring.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult though for Spellbreak because I think with League of Legends, like the stats translate pretty directly to the effect of the stat. Like attack damage translates to the abilities that it scales with or your attack damage. But in Spellbreak, some of the talents like do not lend themselves. Like think about ambidextrous. Like how would you possibly put damage value or HP value? You know, because it's multi-layered. So I think with Spellbreak, you might have to think of a different way to like put a value system in the talents. And I guess that's the whole point of the 1, 2, 3 point system that they have. It's just hard to like put it into a spreadsheet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My whole point is that like, I feel like you almost need to do that. So, where am I getting with this? So you could like accurately assign costs to talents. That way you're not putting like recovery, for example, should probably be a 3 cost talent, and Vital Stone could theoretically be a 2 or a 1 cost. But it's a little bit lopsided in that regard, where Vital Stone is so expensive, but really doesn't really provide that much value, and you're kind of wasting 3 talent points by picking it. Whereas recovery might as well be worth like 6 talent points sometimes. So, like, I feel like there's something there that needs to be discussed, like among them. So,
yeah. But back to your original point, though, I do agree that I think like nerfing and balancing talents around their cost is like not a cop out because they're just trying to balance the game, but it is like a method that doesn't effectively touch on the problem. Like even if they put recovery to 3, if they put recovery to 3 next patch, I still think you'd see recovery like quite often, at least on the tank member or in solos where it's super crucial. So I think it does have to like get into the numbers more so for changing talents.
Yeah, I feel so too. And I don't really know how you change recovery. Like maybe you lengthen the time of it, but then it was not as powerful as it was before. I mean, at one point we had like a 4-second recovery. That was crazy. And I didn't even realize it until it got nerfed that it was as strong as it was. So maybe that's
I mean, I guess you could put a cap on it, like make it so after if you receive 50 HP, it caps itself for a certain amount of time. But then again, I don't know how that doesn't sound like a very fun change. Like they also have to balance the game on what is enjoyable to use, right? So if recovery suddenly just gets like you have a certain window of opportunity, then the talent is just no longer even viable or fun at all.
Yeah, I feel that too. So let's get into some of the feedback that Jesse said down here. Obviously, we have the change to recovery as far as if you can see on your screen here that I have
Yeah.
pulled up. Basically, we have changes to a lot of stuff. Prologue was meant to be easy and fast, but chapter one apparently. I got this from a shop update from another dev. Basically, he's nicknamed the shop guy, where the chapter one progression system is going to cost 1,000 gold, so just $10, which actually is pretty damn good as far as like what you get from what you put in. It's 50 levels, and apparently the weekly quests that we get are going to be much more substantial than what we've been getting. Like it might actually take a week as opposed to like one game of Clash, to get all three, which I think
Yeah,
is kind of
exactly.
weird. Yeah, I think I saw Mana Class, one of our other casters, playing Spellbreak, and he's like, well, no, it was Raw on Twitter. That's what it was. Raw on Twitter basically posted a picture of him playing Clash and like the final score and everything. He's like, well, I played my one Clash game to get all the quests done. Time to come back next week. Like, I feel like they have a real opportunity to make people want to play just to get that done, if nothing else. So that
Yeah.
might be something else they could do. But yeah, for progression, he says, I feel you. And there should be a little bit better in that regard. I don't know if they'll actually have like a ranked mode or anything, but it would be interesting. He can't say anything about game modes. Communication's going to get better. He's mentioned Frostborn and everything at some point in here. Oh, imbalance and progression. So recovery, pyro, and Frostborn. Like everyone's saying that like there are buffs / nerfs coming, but he only says change. So I'm not really sure like why people are saying buffs or nerfs to whatever. Like pyro could theoretically be buffed because pyrolysis and conflagration could get changed to benefit pyro, and Frostborn probably is going to be a buff because it's bad. Tempest is interesting. What do you think they could do to Tempest?
I don't know. And the thing that makes me so like questioning Tempest's change is that when you look at Tempest as a class and like how it has been changed since the class system got shifted to just having 6 and a main gauntlet, it's like the identity of the class has been a little bit in the air. So that's why I don't know exactly what way they're going to go with the change. Like they've gone 2 different ways with Tempest. Like at one point it was they were putting a lot of damage into it, but then they kind of shifted away from that and put it back to the mobility identity of the class. So I don't know which one they're going to lean into. I do think for Tempest as a class itself, like the current iteration of Tempest, the one thing that really kind of sucks about it is that even though you have really good mobility with the class, the amount that you can do with that mobility is almost capped by the strength of lightning and the strength of ice. Because even if you're working and you're doing an amazing job of getting your movement up, if somebody's tracking you with lightning, I mean, you're kind of dead. So if they can find a way to address that and like give it so there's more windows for you to just do whatever you want with the class, I guess that might be a change. But then how do you even implement something like that?
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Like maybe they can up the damage reduction, but without making it like too crazy. I'm not really sure what you would do, to be honest. But speaking about lightning, they do have a change coming for lightning, and this is super interesting. Like they specifically use the word lightning and not conduit. So I'm honestly like, if it's just a damage reduction thing, like that's not really going to do much because like lightning already is such a low damaging gauntlet by itself. Like I feel like if you take the legendary lightning gauntlet and you decrease its damage by 1 per bolt, you still have potential energy that still melts people. You still have focus mana into power surge into potential energy that can then melt people. So what I would like to see from lightning is maybe they like completely rework how it's done. Like something that I'd like to see personally, I mentioned this on a video I made myself where I basically just went off on a tangent for an hour, which is kind of like what we're doing here. But in any case, I kind of would like to see lightning take up that mid ground between instantly punching a fireball and charging up a frost. Like I feel like it could be a charge up as like kind of a DMR option if you ever played Halo, or as like a marksman rifle type of thing. I feel like it could be something like that. But at the same time, if the damage is too high, then it could be really, really obnoxious and also kind of takes away some of the identity from ice a little bit, just from the charge up. But I feel like if they do it well with enough delay in between each shot, it would at least feel much better than getting tracked down by an assault rifle type thing that you can't really avoid all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the issue with lightning, in my opinion, is when it comes to balancing it, like what have they not done already to try to balance it? They
Yeah,
added a
that's
wind
true.
up. They added the wind up a while ago, which made the gauntlet feel really bad to use. Like I'm glad that they got rid of the wind up, or maybe it's still in the game, but it's super minor. Now it's like
Yeah,
a half wind up, and then you shoot all your bolts. But I feel like they've tried almost everything with the gauntlet, and at this point, I agree with you. I think you need to really rework something fundamental about the gauntlet. I don't agree with the charge up aspect though, because I like your point about
yeah,
it taking over Frost identity. I think it would completely take over the sniper class, and I do really like the Frost Gauntlet and the Frostborn class. Like I think Frostborn is one of the classes that has a clear identity. It just needs
yeah,
a bit of help becoming a good class, if that makes any sense. So I would
yeah.
rather see Lightning receive a big change, but I don't know what way to go with it. I think the biggest issue is the hit scan element, but how do you give the gauntlet an identity without that part of it?
This is a very, very old game. Have you ever played Elder Scrolls Morrowind?
No, that's super old, man.
Yeah, it's like God, how old is that? It's like 2003, 2004. Might be
Yeah.
older. But the way they handle lightning and basically all the spells is like it's like a fireball, except it's like an orb of lightning that you shoot out and it like doesn't drop at all and it just kind of floats out and then it explodes upon impact. So I don't know. That probably wouldn't work out very well, but the way I'm envisioning lightning is if they did something that, yes, it could be like an instantaneous travel thing, but you like charge it up in your hand, like in Skyrim, and then do it. Like maybe that could work a little better to where it's not
I
like
think so.
continuous.
This is like maybe a dumb point, but I feel like with that, when you say the orb, like the concept of shooting an orb or like more of an explosive type of thing, how
Yeah.
cool would it be if they also brought in like a rocket launch, a rocket jump aspect from TF2? Like it shoots detonatable balls of lightning that you
Mm.
like arc out, but if you shoot it at your feet, you can pop yourself up in the
Dude,
air.
they
Like
should
that
do
would
that
be.
to Pyromancer. Delete conflagration
Mm,
and put that on Pyromancer.
that's true, but then because you know how pyro, like part of the power of pyro is you can just sit on somebody's face and shoot at the ground. That would make that impossible because you would just bounce yourself backwards.
Well, you could like
So that
handle
would
it.
take the strength out of the class.
You could handle it like Tempest, where they like wind jump off the ground, but still have enough control to still wind slap the dude while also floating. So like
True.
you could do that in more of like a bouncy kind of way, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Dude, what do you think we could do to ice? Like they do have changes to ice. This is confirmed. So like me personally, I feel like the ice charge up is perfect. Like I feel like you don't need to change anything to that. I really hope it's not a damage nerf. Um there was one theory that I made in that hour-long video where I said that maybe like you could change the Tundra skill from Frostborn so that it instead of like it applying the immunity, it sped up the time it takes to freeze. So like kind of like how it used to be back in the day, where literally you would do this with your sorcery and it would freeze back in pre-alpha. And like maybe you put the immunity or smaller amount of immunity to all flash freezes. Like, I feel like that
Yeah.
would be interesting to do. So I feel like
I'm
it's
I'm
really
pretty biased with
lackluster.
ice though, because I personally
Yeah,
really like the gauntlet. Like I think it's one of the highlights of Spellbreak is the ice
yeah, I do
gauntlet and the
too.
plays you can make with it. Like all the terrain, how you can weave around walls, hills, and stuff. But
Yeah,
like so when it comes to changing it, I kind of want to see it continue to have that charge up, snipe, big damage identity, and the
yeah,
sorcery as well. Like I don't have too much of an issue with the sorcery because I think that if you add a sorcery that can be used aggressively to ice, because I mean I guess Tundra can be used aggressively if you jump on somebody and throw it down. But I feel like
yeah,
if you'd be treading into some scary territory if ice becomes something that you can use like super proactively, because the gauntlet already has such a high skill ceiling that if you
mhm.
add that, it's like just becomes a face roll. I don't know.
Dude, I'm really hoping that they don't change up the trajectory of it because if they do, then my aim is just fucked the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, oh, if you shoot here, then it'll fall here. But no, it actually falls a mile. So I don't know. I feel like that's
I'm
not what
surprised
they'll
they're
do.
changing stone though. Like when I see on this list, I'm
Okay,
surprised that stone is
all
getting
right.
changes. To be honest,
This has to be pathing. It has to be. I feel like I feel like they're going to change the pathing a little bit, especially in Gritfeld. You know how once you're up on those cliffs, it literally travels down the entire cliff and like has that entire horizontal thing going for it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, I
I
think
feel
though that if they said changes, I don't think that change would be just like if it was pathing, I don't think they'd include it on this list. Like I feel like change is, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there might be like a identifiable change to the gauntlet, or at least like to its stats, not just like, oh, we bug fixed the pathing. Because I hope that's
yeah.
just bug fixing.
Well, it's not a bug. Like it's in the game to go over certain obstacles over others. I know it still
True.
doesn't go over. It still doesn't go over the wooden fence near Arena of Elders. You know that housing area that CNT was in. It doesn't go
Yeah.
past the wooden fences for whatever reason, but it'll go over like rock fences for some reason.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something like that. What I would like it is if you know how like there's like a kind of a height to the shockwave a little bit, and like even if you get a toe up here versus the full body hit right here, it's like still 45 damage,
Yeah.
more or less. I feel like if you have a little bit of damage fall off at the very, very top of the stone hitbox, I feel like it would be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean the issue with Stone, and this is funny that because it seems like every time we talk about one of these three gauntlets and Tempest as well, it's like the issue that we're identifying isn't just numbers. Because I think as well with Stone, the problem is that when it's strong, it just destroys new players, like
Yeah,
absolutely destroys new players, but it
the
still doesn't do anything
patented
in comp. But then
yeah
when
the
it's weak,
patented new
it's just
stopper.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. And arguably, like I don't know if it's weak right now, but it's still cheesable to an extent. Like minus
I think it's
boulders,
pretty good.
obviously.
I think for comp, Stone is in one of the best iterations it's been in, like in terms of
I feel that
how much
too.
we see Stone Shaper. I think right now on
Oh,
this patch,
what if they add bedrock to every stone and just change the bedrock talent?
then I think Stone
That
becomes
would
like
be
a
cool.
really good offhand gauntlet because the bedrock interaction where you bedrock and dash for momentum is
Yeah,
underrated, man. It's so hard to
dude,
deal
it's
with when
so
you're playing
good.
that.
It's so good, and it's like it makes you so not untargetable, but like it makes you so hard to hit, especially if you're
Yeah,
like even if you're playing lightning, like it's so hard to hit something zooming that fast because you're like up here and then all of a sudden you're just zooming off like 40
yeah.
feet the other direction. It's
An
crazy.
underrated interaction too is like not just using bedrock with dash, but if you bedrock, like I've seen Megaverse do this a ton and
Mhm.
Borsalino as well. Like if you bedrock and then your opponent thinks that you're going to be hitting the ground, so they jump, but you can cancel your auto. So you
Mhm.
cancel your bedrock and then fireball where the guy's jumping. Like you bait them into jumping. I've seen
Yeah.
that happen so many times. And that interaction, like if you can get that down pat as a stone shaper, you will shit on people. Like it's just a fact. And I hope that
Yeah.
interactions like that stay in the game because that type of mechanical stuff is makes it so satisfying.
Yeah. This is I'm gonna change topics here, but one final thing I wanna leave with is I would really like to see something done about sorcery hover as a cheesable thing in pubs. I know it's not really a big competitive thing. Well, it is to some extent, but not really that much. Where you can like sorcery hover in the sky for 5 seconds and just stall out the late game. I
You
feel
want to see
like
that removed, or you want to see it like more like a different interaction?
so. I'm personally not a fan of the sorcery hover, at least not as long as you can do it currently. Like I feel like 5 seconds on a sorcery hover is ridiculous, personally. I feel like you could change it to like 1 or 2 seconds. That way, people who want to sorcery cancel their float, I feel like that's a cool interaction. Like you can still float with your sorcery and then cancel it out to still like be able to recover from a low levitate, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think being able to just like hold it when you're 100 feet off the ground and just watch everybody fight while you're just holding a sorcery and not doing anything with it, I feel like either the time needs to be reduced or there needs to be like a trade off to doing it, like maybe spending a resource or something.
Well, a cool thing that I could think of right away is you leave the 5 second window, but if you hold it for
Yeah.
over 5 seconds, it actually burns your sorcery cooldown
Ah, that's a good one. But
instead
then
of
you
just
can
being able to
like,
cancel it for no punishment. Because you know how right now in the current state, you can jump up,
mm,
hold your sorcery until you see somebody else fighting, and then you actually cancel your sorcery, land on top of both people, and you have all your cooldowns. Like you
yeah,
could make that a punishment where if you do that for over 5 seconds, your cooldown gets burned, or like it just instantly ticks your 7 seconds, and then it's like, oh, I'm screwed.
Yeah, the only problem I see with that though is that you could hold it for like half a second before that happens.
Yeah.
So it would
Also, I feel like
just
that idea wouldn't be very like fun to play as, because like you would just be like, you're not going to count for 5 seconds in your head, and then you
yeah,
get your sorcery taken. You're like, what the hell? Like, I don't know.
yeah.
It's just like a maybe an idea for how to change that.
Yeah. I feel like you could man, that's tough. Maybe when you're hovering with your sorcery, it could burn your mana. And then once your mana goes out, you fall.
Yeah, that's
I,
true.
I
Because
feel
then you're
like you
still
could
at a
do that.
disadvantage. You're at resource, like you're low resources.
Yeah, I feel like you could do that. Docta in the chat, or Lost Surfer James, actually had a cool suggestion to add updraft to the passive skill with wind jump. Just add updraft to wind surge, and then put something else as the updraft skill. I feel like that'd be
Oh,
pretty
cool.
cool.
What do you think, like just theorycraft? So that if updraft got put on passive, I'm assuming you move everything up one. What would the new fourth talent be for Tempest in your mind then?
I've toyed with the idea of providing additional rune cooldown, but I feel like that would be so strong. Um, I mean, you could do it theoretically, but I feel like if you put like 30% rune cooldown or something like that, then dash would just you would just like insta dash basically, or like it would be really really close. Like you would turn if you have runic fluency and you have dash, and then you have that last one that does rune cooldown by 30%. You could like have a 2 second dash cooldown almost, and that's pretty nuts. So I
Yeah,
feel like
especially on Tempest.
yeah, which I mean, it fits the theme of high flying mobility, and it's kind of the whole point of the class. And honestly, maybe that is the way you deal with the conduit matchup, is that you just spam your dash
I mean,
and make
another
it.
solution right away, like I think it maybe not is the most maybe it's not the most fun thing, but you could add damage reduction when you're in the air if you're Tempest.
Yeah,
Like
that's on
if
Squall
you
already though.
damage no, like you the incoming damage is reduced.
Yeah, 10%.
Really? So Squall gives you both bonus and outcoming and incoming.
Yeah, it's so good. It's really good.
Yeah, that's nutty then.
I
Yeah,
was
okay, then my
grinding.
suggestion's already in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah, I was grinding Tempest this whole last week, so I learned a whole bunch about it. Um, had to for the guide and everything. But
Nice.
let's get off of that topic here because we've been rambling on a little bit. We need to talk about this patch. So I'm gonna pull up the patch notes here on my own little screen, and we can start talking about it already. So obviously we talked about recovery, how that absolutely needs to be changed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're pretty solid on that. So how do you feel about some of these other changes, like the new talents, vigor, foresight, and ambidextrous?
I don't know how to feel about ambidextrous, to be honest with you. I mean, the other three have been cool. I really like how Vigor has kind of slotted into the meta. Like, I feel like Vigor's done a
Yeah.
good job of having a presence, but not taking over the game in any sense. Foresight as well. I think you could even think about moving Foresight to 2, but that might cause some issues because it is pretty strong. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of ambidextrous is the one I want to talk about the most, because it feels like ambidextrous is so cool and like has a chance, but it just gets
Yeah.
bottlenecked by recovery, because it's like, when you take
Yeah.
that, it's not the right like balance of option right there.
Yeah, I definitely feel on that. I'm trying to like rank all these talents for another thing that I'm doing, and it's like, do I want to rank it based on how much is used over recovery, or do I want to rank it based on like how useful it actually is if recovery wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like if we ranked it based on how much we use it over recovery, everything in the spirit talent would be F tier, and I feel like that's not the right way to go about it. But like in terms of the power it brings, like the 25% offhand spell mana cost reduction, I feel like is really strong on Frost. But at the same time, it forces you to use Frozen Alacrity, which your opponent can then use to close the distance. So it's like,
Yeah.
I really hate that. I really hate that Frozen Alacrity lets your opponent skate on it, which is another thing I want to talk about later. But
I think that's the only passive in the game that can be used by your opponent, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I think it is
Because all
actually.
other passives are just solely self-beneficial. But
Yeah,
Frostborn's the only one that can really help your team and help the enemy as well.
it used to not be like that either. Like it used to be, you could just throw it on a frost trail, and whoever jumped on it, if they're not a frostborn, would just slip on it, and it would just like
Yeah.
it just skate you. And also, you could just run a whole lot faster in old alacrity. which I think, if I remember correctly here, I need to plug in my headphones real quick. Pal. Yeah, it's giving me the little beep. And like, if you're talking to me and I don't answer, I'm sorry, but like these Logitech headphones will just like cut out sound intermittently for whatever reason.
Oh my goodness.
Like, yeah, I know it's weird.
I need to get headphones, man. Look what I've been rocking for over a year of spellcasting now.
I know. I'm always so surprised that you can get by just wearing little earbuds. Like, I don't know how you actually play Spellbreak.
I feel like I'm some sort of newscaster. Oh, when I play Spellbreak, it's pretty brutal. But I just like having the small little piece. It's nice.
Yeah. Wait, is it just one ear?
Yeah, I only wear it in one ear. And
like,
you know why?
It's because like when you're playing Spellbreak, you just one ear.
Yeah, it's actually the most scuffed thing ever because I have two monitors, but they're connected to two different PCs because my PC's not like super high power. So when I'm playing Spellbreak, I'll have one set of headphones that's different from this. Like I'll have two different sets of headphones and one in my left and one in my right. And it has a stream in my left ear and Spellbreak in my right ear. It's
the most audio
you've ever seen in your life.
Dude, I bet if you had actual headphones, maybe like you would be up here with the rest of us. In terms of
so man. I'm your guest on your podcast.
I know. Hey, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. We're all bots here. All bots here. No,
I wish
secrets.
these people could hear the banter that goes on in the pre-production chat. I know Docta and Strofo have heard some of it, but it gets pretty there.
Yeah, Zyron saying you need to handicap yourself to prevent you from being too powerful.
I used to grind this game so much, dude. Before I mean, I guess even when me and you first started casting together, but I was playing Spellbreak like 25 hours a week, dude. It was insane.
I remember that too. I think I saw you in the kill feed a lot in pre-alpha.
Yeah, and then I just kind of like started focusing on this more type of stuff. I mean, you did as well because you started doing more content.
Yeah, that's recently though. Like you were doing streams back in the day. That was some good stuff. You had what was it called, the Gauntlet back in the day, where you would put on your own tournaments. Yeah, it was crazy, man. Those are good tournaments too. Those are good tournaments.
Yeah, those were fun, man. That was back when it was like the format was so scuffed, but the players who were playing at the time. Sorry, I'm resetting my camera. The players that were playing at the time were so damn good, so it just made the tournaments fun to watch, even though the format made like no sense.
Yeah, there were so many players back then that I wish would still give the chance today. Like, imagine the amount of talent we would have. Like, oh my goodness, that was crazy.
When we saw CNT, I mean, I know we're not on this topic, but
CNT,
those were some legends, Nemo and Nigel and Dwerky as well. But Dwerky was playing a bit later, like closer up. But it's just that was crazy to see those three, man.
Dude, I remember going up against Nigel back in the day when everyone was on NA because, like, for whatever reason, EU and no other region could get their player base up. But Nigel would pop into the NA side of things, and he would just dunk on people. I think like out of all my time in Spellbreak, I think I went like 1 and 2 with him back in pre-alpha. It was insane.
When I used to play like hardcore streaming, I would stream before I would go to classes. And I'd wake up really early. Yeah. And I live West Coast, right? So when I get up, I would get up dumbass early, and I'd have to play on EU because it was the only server going at the time, like that early. And I would literally just get ravaged by like Nemo, Nigel, and all of those top EU players. I mean, Thunderson, because he used to play pretty aggressively too.
I remember. Thunderson used to like grind this game back in the day. Yeah, he doesn't play nearly as much. He doesn't play nearly as much as what he used to. And I mean, he's always been like the analytical guy.
Yeah, like, well, now he's just swamped with element work. That dude is like grinding for element today.
He still plays every now and again, but he's nowhere near what he used to be, in my opinion. Like he used to
I haven't seen him play in a minute, so I can't tell. But I just know he used to just destroy me up.
Yeah, me too. It was crazy. But getting back into these talents here, Vigor, I feel like that's a good place. I feel like it's like almost the same as Harmony in terms of functionality, but there's the trade-off if you want more value from recovery on your max health, or do you want the extra CC immunity from Harmony? So I feel like it's in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like with the meta and the way the talents work, it's like a lot of it just comes down to like certain things are valued very highly. Like survivability will always, if a talent gives you survivability, then it's almost always going to see more usage, especially in Spellbreak, just because it's like the fact that you can live longer and that opens up so many possibilities. I just feel like that type of talent takes over all other possibilities, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I'm kind of like in a toss up with it because like whenever I do the math, like it's almost as if because harmony has the damage reduction too, and it applies to everything, not just your health. And it's like vigor, I think, lets you take on average like one or two extra fireballs, which obviously could save your life, but at the same time, like you could have CC immunity on some of these classes that you want to run with Harmony, where you can like just completely dive someone who used a flash freeze and just ruin their day that way. So like, I feel like there's a bit of a trade off there if you want to run it that way.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really undecided on it, to be honest. Like I kind of group them together as kind of a trade off kind of thing. Like yeah, you use this if you want to survive longer. You use this if you want to deal with teams that are running CC heavy things.
I
So
don't know if it's just me being like biased or weird, but I feel like when a 3 point talent, and I know vigor, like personally in terms of the balance of it, it fits in properly. But
yeah,
like same thing with fervor, having a 3 point talent that's just like a static stat increase is like not ideal in my opinion. Like it would be cool to see, like I think ambidextrous is like something to shoot for. Like that target of having a 3 cost talent that like changes the way you play fundamentally is like the
yeah,
ideal stat. Or foresight as well, right? Because if you take that, then you're obviously playing more macro style. But just things like fervor and
yeah,
vigor, where it's like, oh, this talent is 25 HP, 30 HP, 35 HP. Like it's just not as, as eye popping as some of the other talents could be. But I guess that's just me. Like, I'm not a game designer, so I don't know how hard it is to really balance those things.
maybe that's the thinking. Like with putting Vital Stone at 3 cost, that like 3 cost talents are meant to like not be a stat increase, but are meant to like make an entire new mechanic around the talent. Like because
Yeah.
like ambidextrous adds a skill. Fortitude, when it was 3 costs, now it's two. Like puts up a barrier that blocks damage, which you get nowhere else from.
Harmony,
Um,
CC immunities, 3 point.
yeah, that used to be two back in the day, though. Like it
Yeah.
used to be runic fluency was 3 costs, which maybe it still should be. Maybe you put
Hmm.
vigor down to 2 costs, but I feel like vigor with 50 health. Well, we'll have to see. Like once recovery gets shifted around, I feel like that's when you can really start talking about vigor being 2 costs. Because as of right now, like its pairing with recovery is just insane.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's
In
up?
terms of balance, what do you think about? Because I know a conversation that always crops up when we talk about talent balance is the
Yeah.
issue with toxicologist and shadow step and the interactions with outbreak. Because
Oh, here
there's
we go.
arguments to be made that runic fluency and those types of things really benefit toxicologists more than almost any other class, maybe conduit. Like, what's
Yeah.
your opinion on the whole situation with toxicologists? I know because there's some controversy in the community right now about outbreak spamming and stuff.
Man, I got into a heated, not really heated, but like a decently sized discussion with Crashy about this, actually, who, funny enough, I'm casting with tomorrow, so you might see the heat continue. But
Dissenting
like,
opinion.
yeah, I firmly declared on Twitter the other day that, hey, dude, this is not like Shadow Step and Toxicologist with Outbreak. It's not overpowered. It's just really, really strong. And I feel like if you're getting outbroken, like have you seen that disgusting clip of tacos just
Yeah.
triple outbreaking someone? Okay, first of all, that's like back in beta or alpha, whenever Outbreak had plus 100% on it, and Shadow Step had momentum transfer. You can see it in the clip how he like still goes out. I can actually pull this up for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about because he actually sent me this the other day. Yeah, here we go. This is actually perfect. Let me just full screen this. All right, so for those of you that don't know, hopefully I don't get like banned for this or anything. But yeah, this is like back in alpha or beta. Look at the icons, dude. It's actually changed up quite a bit. That's funny. But basically, what he does is he outbreaks, outbreaks, outbreaks. Pretty dumb.
Fetty Guap. That's the part that I love about the clip the most. Just Fetty
Yeah.
Guap getting abused.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
disgusting.
I remember Fetty Guap too. Like he used to pop
Yeah.
up in my games as well. But basically, yeah, Shadow Step carries some momentum, which, by the way, that's getting removed. I talked with Andy about it. I can pull up the DM, but I'm not going to. That it is a bug and it is getting removed. So don't get used to this momentum Shadow Step. Yeah, I know, sad, but anyway, going into that clip, it's Outbreak had plus 100% damage, out of invisibility, and Shadow Step had the things the way that it was. So nowadays, with it being 75%, I find in most of my games that like the amount of times that I get the full benefit, like the 1, 2, 3 Outbreak Exile thing, it doesn't happen that much against people who know how to move. Like I feel like it's very, very rare that Outbreak actually gets the full damage from a full Toxic Slap. And maybe that's just me being bad. But it also doesn't really happen to me either. Like it's usually something else that kills me. It's usually like a Vanishing Mist into a Frost Shot or something to disguise some other sort of damage that ends up killing me. I feel like it's not really that. I feel like it's not overpowered. I just feel like it's really, really strong against a single target, and it really falls off in squads to some extent.
Yeah, I think like a forgotten side of the argument, because I have read like people's on either side. I mean, I've read your opinion as well, actually, when you've debated somebody else about toxicologists. But I think the thing
Yeah.
that is forgotten sometimes is that to get the full effectiveness of Outbreak and to get the best of the class, you have to literally get up on somebody's hip. And it's toxicologist is, I mean, I do understand the argument though that with all the runic fluency, you don't, it's that's not necessarily true, because you can jump on somebody like that clip, jump on somebody, pop back up, and you're not necessarily right next to them. But I do think there is something to be said about that interaction. Like you're not just doing it for zero risk. When you go for an Outbreak, you either have to play very well mechanically to pull it off without taking damage, or you have to just out trade the player. So I think that's like, I don't know. I do think it is a little strong though. Don't you like it? It's
No, it's
fact
definitely
that, especially with
strong. That's how I
potions
label it
right
as
now,
strong.
the one thing with knowledge potions and toxicologist interactions, not a big fan of that, because the way that we watch competitive right now,
Yeah.
if you have a toxicologist on your team, you literally just feed them knowledge potions, wait until you get into a one-on-one engagement or a 3-on-3, and just choose a target and he's dead. Like it's guaranteed, you know.
No, I agree with you there. I think that like if it were up to me and we could like customize the way that which by the way, custom lobbies, haha. But anyway, yeah, if it were up to me and we had custom lobbies, knowledge potions would be turned off. Period. I feel like it's way too of an RNG for way too big of a benefit. I feel like it shouldn't be in the game from a competitive standpoint. I get it like in casual BR and like you want to have like that feeling of being a god and all that, and you only get it if you're lucky. At the same time, when you're running a squad, you can literally have someone running finders keepers. They loot all your chests. They find like 1 or 2 knowledge potions. You feed it to player 2, and then he just blows up a team with outbreaks.
Yeah.
So, and we saw that today. So,
Yeah,
like that's where I'm getting that from.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And it's I don't know. I do like the idea though of like the concept behind a knowledge potion and trying to add mechanics to the game that make for like a very different experience. Like, oh, this game I got a bunch of knowledge potions, so this is fundamentally a different experience than my last game. But at the same time, this is where Spellbreak's like, I don't know if I want to call it an identity crisis, but it's an issue where it's like those types of ideas are very fun for the casual side of the game, but it feels like the only people still playing this game are competitive players. Like I mean, the player base right now is not in an ideal situation, and I
It's
feel
not like Fortnite or Apex or anything.
exactly. So it's kind of an odd situation where the game itself is moving towards a casual direction, but the player base has still consisted mainly of competitive players. Again, this could just be me being biased because I'm a competitive showcaster, but I mean that's like it becomes hard when we talk about balancing knowledge potions, because what is the game really supposed to be, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like there is that argument to be made. Like maybe it's just meant to be a casual experience that we somehow have turned competitive. But like at the same time, you have elements in it that can be heavily exploited to make it super competitive. It's almost like Melee from that perspective. Like they never imagine, because they never imagine wave dashing to be a thing, or any of these other cancels. They probably never imagined Fox to be the top player to pick every single game. But players discovered all these little mechanics that you can do, like Dash's momentum transfer. Let's see, like the way it interacts with Tempest, the way that you can interact with conduit sometimes. Like there's little bitty things that you can exploit to make it to where if someone does that better than the other person, then obviously they're going to come out on top in that engagement like 9 times out of 10. I feel like there's stuff inherently in there. So
no, I agree. And actually, Strofo brings up a really good point in chat. I didn't even think of it like that, right? Because he said, I mean, I don't know if people watching the video, like not live, can see his comment, but he's just saying that in casual play, it still feels bad to 1v1 some guy who hits you with 8 boulders or 8 shadow steps. And I mean, that is a great point, right? It takes away from the casual experience, even because it's like, well, that didn't feel like a fight. That just felt like this guy had better RNG.
Yeah, basically. It's almost like the feeling, like it's not obviously not the same, but the latest Halo, or one of the latest Halos that came out, like had a thing where you could like buy access to a tank basically, and you could go around your multiplayer games with a tank and just kill everyone that way. And it's like, did that guy really beat me, or did he pay for a tank? You know, like did that guy really beat me, or did he just find 3 knowledge potions and got lucky?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I definitely feel that. I feel like if they ever add a ranked mode, I don't think it would be BR for one thing, but like if they did, I feel like stuff like the knowledge potion should probably just, stay away. Or if you want to do like Seth the other day, Crashy had a good video on this actually. Seth in one of the Twitch VODs that he released, that was like after hours or something, said that he would like a CSGO economy based game mode put in, which if Seth is saying it, that's probably what's coming. So take notes. Yeah, so we might be seeing that in the future. That could be something that you put in as like a very, very high cost, kind of like how you like buy an op in CSGO and you basically win the round if you're good enough. You could like funnel knowledge potions to one guy or one toxicologist, and he can win you the round that way. Maybe that's something you would do with it. But I feel like in BR it feels kind of bad, kind of like how Strofo was saying.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to this question of like, what is the identity of Spellbreak going forward? And when you talk about that question, like I think it always raises the idea of a 3v3 arena mode, or like you were talking about and Seth was talking about, a mode that is a form of arena with an economy system. Those ideas are, I mean, again, this is my bias as a shoutcaster, but those game modes would be so juicy to play and to watch and to do like a competitive circuit with a 3v3 arena, an elo system or something like that. I just think that would really take this game to a level where people are getting off work and they're excited to log in and play Spellbreak because they want to grind ELO, or they want to get with their trio and go and try to fight these other trios, And I think the issue that always gets raised is the gameplay loop of Spellbreak, because the gameplay loop is actually very fun, like the fighting, the combat loop, but it's super rare when you play BR. It's like you fight 3 or 4 times unless you're a super good player who just face rolls the lobby,
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like a lot of people have said that too. Like me personally, I play exclusively Clash right now because that's the one thing that I love about Spellbreak is the fights. And I don't want to go through, like, it has a looting phase, but I'm not waiting a whole 5 or 10 minutes to get back into that fighting stage. Like, you can just drop back in and immediately practice your mechanics, and you can go in and, like, dunk on somebody if you want to, or get dunked on if you're not good. Like, even Doctor in the chat right now, Lost Surfer James, is saying that he hasn't played BR since Clash came out. Dude, I'm right there with you. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like BR is something that they're going to have to end up putting behind them in the long run. Because, I mean,
I tried to play BR the other day, and I sat in the lobby for 8 minutes and was like, fuck this.
And, like, I don't know what the new timing is that they have going on. Like, I know it adds more time the more people get in. Like, as people keep trickling in, it'll allow for, like, 2 extra minutes to fill in. But, like, you're talking about 42 players. And even at the end of that timer, once you get 42 players, it almost like it doesn't cancel out the remaining time. So you're just sitting there for another 4 minutes, just waiting for the timer to start. I know it's not literally 4 minutes, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And another point is like, if you have these smaller modes with Arena and the CSGO economy style, you're looking at 42 players versus 6 or 10 that you need to start a match, where you probably don't even need a time extension. And like you can have a system to where you can definitively say, hey, he's won this many squad games with this random squad. He must be pretty good. We can bump him up a little bit into a higher elo, a higher bracket. And something I always say, especially when it comes to like League of Legends in a ranked mode, don't underestimate the power of imaginary internet points. People will grind for those points. They will. Like they don't even have to be good or worth anything. You can have like a little thing that people earn at the end of a season, or like a little emblem, and they will go after it. Like, don't
Dude, have you seen
underestimate it.
Reddit, man? People sell their souls for internet karma, and that shit you don't even
Yeah,
get. There's no leaderboard for that either. That's literally just account points. Like, you're so right. If
yeah,
you put an incentive and a numerical incentive that grows and makes you feel like it's connected to your skill or your value, I mean, it does sound a little evil to like when you talk about those loops, but it's how game marketing works
yeah.
now. You know,
It gives you, yeah, it just gives you something to want to go back to try to earn. Like, even if it
yeah.
doesn't mean anything, like literally, like it could be like, oh, I got carried by a squad, but I'm still going to get 200 internet points. Like, it's still something you want to come back and try to do again, you know?
Yeah, or
Like,
let's say you lose 2 games and you say, shit, I just lost 60 internet points. I want to play another game and try to get a dub. Like it gives you a
yeah,
new perspective on even just losing. Like it adds a reason to keep on playing.
yeah.
But
It's almost like it
I
adds a
don't know.
value to each match.
Yeah.
Like,
But I
instead
also
of
think
just the
this is
enjoyment.
something, if I was to see a 3v3 game mode or something of that sorts, though, this is my
Mhm.
one concern is I would not want to see it on the same BR map. And I know this is so hard for a developing team to get away
Yeah,
because they've spent so many resources on the map, and I think the
literally
map is
2
good
years.
overall. Yeah, the map is
Well,
great overall, but I
yeah,
think it would
longer than
make
that,
the
actually.
game feel way different if you added a system where it was like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch maps. Like it was like, oh, there's 6
Mhm.
maps, and it's literally just sections of the Spellbreak map edited out into their own
Yeah,
square. And it's like Dust Pool map or Halcyon map,
yeah.
and then
You
it's
know,
like, oh, I'm 3v3ing in Halcyon, but it's
yeah.
the same map. It's not.
Blackout did the opposite of that, actually. Like, they had their multiplayer maps that everyone knew and loved, and like they had I forget the name of the maps because I don't really play a lot of Call of Duty, but they literally took the community's favorite maps. Like, I think Nuketown was taken out at one point, and it's literally they just like copy and pasted map after map after map on this
Oh yeah.
giant BR, and like they just treated it like little towns or little cities. And I feel like you could do the same thing from Spellbreak. Like, Arena of Elders is the obvious one. You could literally just
Yeah.
cut that one out in a circular format. You don't even have to make it super big or like super polished. You can literally just take the map asset. You can put a circle barrier around it, and you can like make it to where the rest of the map is like fogged off or something. And you could have that as literally an arena. Like, it's literally called Arena of Elders. It's almost like they're just saying, hey guys, this is the future arena map. We're going to take
Yeah.
this. You'll never see this coming. Like, I don't know. I
Like
feel like they
imagine
could
this,
easily
right?
do that.
Imagine this. So let's say that the system is you get into a lobby. Let's pretend like you didn't have a preset team. Like this is just you playing. Let's say the game mode is 3v3s. You don't have a preset team. You're getting home from work. You're playing a game on your own. You're joining a random squad.
Yeah.
Like let's say you would get put into a lobby. Everybody votes on which map they want to play. They give you 3 options. It's like Dust Pool, Halcyon, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
Sawtooth Ridge. You vote
Yeah.
on one, and then when you pick one, the game gives you 1 minute to choose which class you want to play, what build you want to pick around where you're playing. So it's like, oh, I'm at Dust Pool. I'm going to play Stone Shaper and guard the middle. Like, I think that could be super cool.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for us to just throw these ideas out when I know there's a developer team that would have to work like nightless, just to get this
Yeah.
stuff done. So it's easy to throw it around on a podcast is what I'm trying to say as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's some great points, plays, and unfortunately, we are getting to the end of our podcast here.
No
So
way.
I know it's almost 7 already. I told you we'd
Jeez.
be here for an hour, but
It goes by quickly, my friend.
it really does, and some great ideas being thrown on too. Like that's the thing. Like, maybe it's not like theoretically possible yet, but like
Yeah.
it's something that if we say it out loud and it sounds like a good idea, then it's something that can be put into like a dev's head to say, hey, maybe we could do this if we allocated this amount of time and money to something.
Yeah.
Or like,
And I'm
it's
sure
out
like
there.
as well, I'm sure the developer team has already come up with a lot of these ideas that we're saying,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm sure you already have these, but there's so many things at play when it comes to making a game. So I mean I'm sure that they're doing their own development, but I agree, like it would be such a cool idea to have an arena mode. It would be fun to watch competitively. I think it'd be fun to grind and play.
Yeah.
And it would make it easier to run a game with a lower player base too.
Yeah. And Jesse said the other day that there's not a day that goes by he doesn't mention a ranked mode. So that might be, that's definitely something that's in the thoughts. But anyway, we got to go here. So Plays, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, this is Play Safe. I should have gotten a name card up for him here, so that's my bad. But yeah, thanks for joining me here on our first episode of SpellCast. It's not the biggest thing yet, but hopefully it will be. So let's get everything where people can find you, where what exactly you do again, and yeah, give us some socials, please.
Yeah, well, my social, the only one I can really throw around is my Twitter because I'm not too active on a lot of things right now, but it's just play safe, all one word, at play safe. And yeah, I guess just for my shout outs, what I'm working on, it's all more shoutcasting, ladies and gentlemen. So jump over to Element, check out what the schedule is. I usually do events on Saturdays and Fridays. Saturdays, I'm usually with OSK actually, but I don't got much to shout out, to be honest. It was an honor to be your first guest, OSK. Looking forward to the future of the podcast. And I had a good time.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, dude. It's really great. Guys, thanks for watching, those of you that did. And of course, don't forget, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the SpellCast podcast. This is a weekly podcast that I'll have once a weekend or so, and we'll have different guests on. Maybe we'll even have Plays back for another time, but we'll try to get some more people in. Thank you so much again, Plays, and you guys have a great night.